You want to hear a fun story? BB Shea and I were just chatting before you entered the room, Kelly, with your normal moans and groans.
Oh, man, I can't even tell you. Go ahead.
Yeah. But we were talking about just the nature of radio and what draws certain people to radio. And, you know, BB Shea's been with us. I don't know how many years you've been with the company.
I think coming up on 8.
Okay.
8. This is why I don't take guesses on numbers. And Kelly has no comprehension of time.
Guy's unbelievable.
But BB Shea was saying, we were talking about how when I was a kid, I used to call all the radio stations in Richmond, Virginia. I won contests on every 3 or 4 different stations.
Yeah.
And BB Shea said he actually called our program once years ago. And I said, I won't say that I remember the exact call, but he mentioned something that I had never heard before. And it might have been his call that brought it into my brain.
Really?
We were talking about what, bicycles?
Yeah, so the story was, I think they were doing a study about lowering semen output because people who ride bikes, the bike seat presses up against their perineum.
Yes.
And, you know, we were talking about the gooch, essentially. And then I called
That sounds like that's familiar to me.
Of course,
you know,
it's all coming back.
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
And I called in and I talked about how we call the gooch the ABC, which is called the ass ball connection.
That was you?
Doesn't that ring a bell?
And you guys had a chuckle about it.
It does ring a bell.
I think that was like, I don't know how long, 10 years ago maybe?
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I know.
You know the story, too, about Biggie, who is normally in your seat right now. He saw us once when we first started.
Oh, at the Monster Truck Show?
Yeah, we were at the Monster Truck Show. Now that's 24 years ago. And we had been on the air a month, okay?
And
we
struggling.
And we're struggling. I mean, we struggled early. If you think it's bad now, you should have heard it 24 years ago. And we were following an unbelievably popular syndicated morning radio program that's still on today. And we're still battling them. And they do a very nice job. And nobody wanted to see them go, but they had a contractual obligation to go elsewhere. So there we are every year at the Monster Truck Show. And for the first time, people have heard this program. We're 6 weeks into it. And we walk out onto the floor at the Monster Truck.
Was it tug of war night?
We did a tug of war with a rope, and as you do. And we waved to the crowd. The boos were so thunderous.
22,000 strong.
And the people were drunk and rowdy and throwing things and booing unmercifully and saying terrible things about my family.
But one teenager booed loudest of all.
And he was young Biggie. We didn't know him. We didn't even know him. We met him years later when he's sitting here in this chair. And he says, oh, yeah, I was there that night. I was booing, hated you. So look at that. There's a connection there between the two.
There's even one more connection between Biggie and BB Shea.
I didn't know.
So one time, the first day I was here, I was interning, and we went up to the meeting that we have every Tuesday.
Two Hump Grump meeting.
Yeah, Two Hump Grump meeting. The first time I ever met you. Yes, I was sitting there. The meeting had concluded, and of course, it goes around, does anybody else have any business? And you raised your hand, and you pointed at me, and you said, who is this guy? And then, you know, the scared little person I was like, oh, hey, I'm sorry. I'm Barrett. Nice to meet you. Yada, yada, yada.
I'm little BB Shea.
Yeah, the first time I ever met you, you were like, who is this guy? Why is he sitting in
this room?
Why is he here?
Yes.
What's he doing
Who's
here?
This? Yeah.
Why is he eating my food?
I don't recall it. It does sound like something
Again,
I would do.
yes.
Okay, that's right. Golly, the connections.
Yeah.
Connections is what we make here, you know. Chris Demm and I were just sitting here as we had Leonard Skinner on, and Chris Demm says, The Needle and the Spoon is my favorite Skinner song. Chris Demm said that. I said, drug reference. I can't do that.
Well, listen to the song. It's an anti-drug song.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I really like that, then. That's good.
Listen to the song, man.
Yeah. I told him, he said, what's your favorite Skynyrd song? I said, the one from Forrest Gump. That's Sweet Home Alabama. Sweet Home Alabama.
Of course it is.
Don't they play Freebird in that movie, too?
Do they?
I think when Jenny's about to jump off the building, I think they're playing
Freebird playing at that point?
Yeah.
I hate that scene, drugs.
A terrible scene.
I can't, drugs, I just can't do.
Is that the Jenny scene?
It is, yeah.
When she's up on the building.
She's up on the balcony,
Contemplating?
Oh, I can't stand. I hate scenes in movies where somebody's done a bunch of psychedelic drugs and they're so out of it, or cocaine and they're so
No, you don't. You love Wolf of Wall Street. Stop it.
I like that. But I'll watch them. But it makes me feel so bad for the people. You know, it's just like, oh, the drugs have taken you over and it's so terrible, you know. Yesterday, my wife's got me watching this Murdoch documentary on Netflix.
Is there?
Yeah, it just came out. Just came out.
Now, is this using real footage? These aren't actors playing the roles.
No, documentary. And the kid who wound up being killed, that now the father, Alec Murdoch, is accused of killing, was a terrible drunk. I mean, he drank, and he was like 20 or 19. He was young, you know, and they were showing. The whole thing stemmed from a boat crash that he caused. He was drunk as he could be, and he had himself, his girlfriend, and 4 other friends on a boat at an oyster roast, and he was driving them back at like 2 in the morning and was just drunk out of his mind. And people were saying, stop driving. And he said, this is my effing boat. And he was screaming and everything. Well, a girl was killed in the boat. They had an accident. And it all spun out of control from there. That was really the start of it. And I just was watching these young people drinking and thinking, I just can't watch this. I hate this stuff. You know, I just hate watching it. It was intriguing for sure and compelling. But I just said, I turned to my wife and I said, I have to go play pickleball. I can't be a part of this.
You need your happy place.
I can't. And do you know this? You want to hear how dumb I am?
Sure.
There was a guy.
I need some fresh material.
Okay.
Going to dinner with the in-laws tomorrow.
Listen to this. We're playing pickleball, and there was a guy there. I'd only met him once before. Very nice guy. I don't know what he does for a living. I've only seen him out there. This is my second time. We played this and that. And he said, I got to go early tonight. I didn't get much sleep last night and had to sleep on the fire truck. And I said to him, are you a fireman? He goes, no, man. I just go around town sleeping on fire truck. He said, yeah, I made up the bed, never got in it. We had so many calls last night, I basically had to sleep on the fire truck. And I said, are you a fireman? Like I'm 5. And he's like, nah, dude, I'm just hopping from fire truck to fire truck. Serve it up. Let's go. He didn't want to be any
You're
part of it.
served, loser.
You know, what a loser. What a loser. And I was like, oh, man, that's so dumb. I was trying to make a good impression, you know, young fireman out there. And here I am.
I wish I could remember the numbers. You know, we've done, over the past 2 weeks, we did 4 Two Guys Named Chris Comedy All-Star shows.
Yes.
And Kelly and I, and BB Shea too. BB Shea filled in ably.
Oh, yeah.
Coming along, doing pre-show setups and then greeting the P1s with us. I met a man, I don't know if you guys were there, but he was a firefighter. And I can't remember which show it was because the days kind of blur together. And I said, how many of he said, you know, we go on calls all the time. I said, how many of the calls that come in are legit? And he said, under half.
I figured.
And I said, and break down your day. And he said, most of the time we go to traffic accidents. And then occasionally it's like injuries. And he said the tiniest portion of their day is literally fighting fires.
I guarantee.
Which makes sense.
There was some
because fire trucks now go to accidents.
Exactly. Like under 10% go to actual fires. You know, it's other stuff they go to. Absolutely right. You know, I'll tell you, talking about the Two Guys Named Chris Comedy All-Star shows. We were all over the state last week. And you'll find this interesting too. My wife said to me, probably Sunday, she said, well, you're certainly going to turn in your mileage to the company and get your money back for the mileage. And I said, oh, no, I know. I don't do that. And she goes, you absolutely should. You've traveled hundreds and hundreds
in
of
your
miles.
personal vehicle.
And she said, you need to report that to the HR or whoever. And I said, we just don't do that. And she said, well, Chris Demm's going to do it. I said, I can stake my life and my reputation that Chris Demm is not going to turn in mileage. I said, I've known the man 30 years. He's not going to turn it. He's as meek as I am. He's not going to turn in mileage for this thing. And she goes, I guarantee he does. I said, woman, there is no chance.
He's my radio wife.
This is my.
I know him better than I know myself.
There's no.
I know what he's going to say before he says it.
No way. There's no way. So imagine my surprise. I go into the office yesterday after this show ends. I've moped around to BB Shea for 15 minutes. I've told him.
Humped and grumped.
I don't know. When's Biggie coming back? I've humped and grumped for 15 minutes. I walk back into the office. Well, there's Barry from HR saying, now here's how you do your mileage.
Here's your starting mile. Now, where's your odometer? Here? Okay. You damn right I'm turning in miles.
So then Barry, I'm sitting there quietly, and Barry goes, hey, man, you want me to help you do your mileage? So, yeah. Can you help me? Can you help me do my mileage, too? So he walks me through it and everything. Then I text my wife and said, I just did the mileage. And she writes back, did Chris Demm do the mileage? Did he get you to do that? I don't know if he did it or not. I just stepped up and took care of mileage. I never would have thought to do that. That's just not, because I'm not corporate. I don't.
Well,
I don't.
You're not corporate. I'm not either, but my wife is a CPA.
Yep, she got him to do it.
She knows these things.
And my wife said, yeah, they're going to do that. This is the real world.
Well, there's a lot of seat time behind the car,
and
behind the wheel.
My wife said, you're a grown-up. Get your mileage. I said, I don't know. I can't. I don't want to. But Barry walked me through it, and all, that was fine. Okay. You want to know how dumb I am?
Yeah.
All right.
I want to dinner with the in-laws tomorrow. I need some.
We're starting now.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I thought this whole segment was about that.
Okay. All right. I just read a headline. And if you've followed the show for any time, you'll know where this is going. The headline is 16%, only 16% of people say nepotism is bad. And I turned to Chris Demm and said, if I knew what nepotism meant, I'd have a comment on this. I have no comment on this whatsoever. I don't know what nepotism. I get nepotism, narcissism, and necrophilia confused. I don't know I don't know of the
vastly different. So
I have no idea. I can't even comment on these numbers. But only 16%. That surprised me because I think all three are bad.
Yeah,
I think all three are frowned upon.
One is way worse.
16% of people think having sex with dead people is bad.
No, I guess. I'm not sure. Maybe. I would think that'd be a higher number. I think. I don't know which is which, but I think a higher number. No, but for nepotism, they say only 16% of people think it's bad because almost everybody does it. I mean, you're doing it yourself, and you would take part in it if you could do it. So that's it. You know what is it? Is it?
You don't know, do you?
I don't know what it is.
Nepotism is using your family connections to get ahead.
That makes sense.
Yeah. There's been this movement in Hollywood. Now, B.B. Shea is kind of, he's a young guy and he follows the movie biz. Mm-hmm. There's this phrase that's been blowing around social media. I've only seen it in the last 3 months. I don't know who first said it, but it's called Nepo babies. These are people like Judd Apatow's daughter's now an actor.
Oh, sure.
Bruce Willis and Demi Moore's kids.
Yeah.
They're acting.
Of course.
They're considered Nepo babies. Gwyneth Paltrow, because their parents were in the business.
Pat Sajak's daughter is on Wheel of Fortune.
She's a Nepo baby.
She's a Nepo baby.
She only got the job, quote unquote, because she's a Nepo baby.
Chris Collinsworth's son is on Sunday
NBC.
Night Football. Exactly. Those are Nepo babies. That makes sense to me. And when I look at Jack Collinsworth, I think somebody else is probably better than you and could have that job. But then I think to myself, if I were in that position, I'd probably get my son that job.
But the other side of the coin is he probably was in that world all his life.
He was, yeah. So
and that's all he knows.
And the fact is, if he had a different name, I would never question him being there. He does a good job, and so does Pat Sajak's daughter. She does a fine job.
That was a wheel. I'm sorry, the bar's slightly different.
Well, Dave always talks about how hot she is. He's like, Sajak daughter. I can't comment on that. I will not.
That's too necrophiliac.
Exactly. My wife said to me once, do you think you can get our son, Ben, a job at the radio station? And I said, I'm not going to be embarrassed by his work ethic and his actions. I refuse. And she goes, can he set up some speakers and stuff at an event? And I said, no, he cannot.
Not a fan of narcissism.
Exactly. I
will not be a part of it.
I said, I'm not going to be a part of that, so we're not going to do that. But now, I'll tell you this is, it goes back to the Murdoch case. You talk about a guy with influence who protects his kids. I mean, he wound up killing his kid. Allegedly. But this guy, Alec Murdoch, after this boat crash, he went directly to the hospital and immediately started saying that another kid was driving the boat, and he wasn't. He was not driving the boat. And do you know that kid, he's interviewed. And
the second
kid went to his father and said, are they going to kill me? Because that's the rumor, too, is that they just make people disappear. That's how powerful that family is. So I didn't know all this till yesterday. I mean, I was loosely following this trial. But I can see
you're being dragged in.
Yeah, and that documentary was pretty eye-opening. I mean, I'd only seen an hour of the probably 10-hour.
Do they have access to the family, or is this just kind of news reports and backstory?
I'm seeing access to everybody that was on the boat so far, and everybody, but not the Murdoch family themselves. Of course, half of them have been eliminated.
Are other reporters from the area being interviewed, police officers, law enforcement.
Yeah, but mostly, and I've just seen the boat crash so far, but it's a lot of the people that were on the boat and the parents of the people that were on the boat.
Is this an open-ended series? Do you think it'll go through the trial?
I think it's a 10-episode, or I think it's a finite thing. I'm not sure because the trial is still going on. And by the way, my wife is headed back to South Carolina today.
What?
Yeah, breaking news. She went to the Murdoch trial
Once you pop.
yesterday, and she got back just to tell me how wonderful it was and everything. So I was sitting there talking to her yesterday. She was getting ready to fire up this documentary, and she said, Stephanie and I are going back on Thursday. And I looked at her and I said, what? And she goes, yeah, we're going back.
We got to go back.
We have to go back because Alec himself may testify today and or tomorrow, and she wants to be there for closing arguments. And I said, you're kidding me. I said, you've been once. Now that, of course, that was crazy enough. You're going back again. And she turned to me and said, are you going to deny me my passion? And I said, no, no.
Not when you put it like that. Did you make the circular motion at the side of the head with the index finger?
No, I can't. No, because it all goes back. No, I can't. I know. Of course I'm thinking it. Of course I'm thinking, you're out of your mind. You're leaving us again. You're going down there again. But what did I do 9 months ago?
Well, you made a poor business decision.
I made a bad business decision. And anything that I now go back to her and say, this is the wrong decision, she can bring up my pine straw incident. So I leave it alone.
What's the time frame on that? How long can she use that to get what she wants?
In my mind, 3 years.
Okay.
It's a self-imposed penalty of 3 years.
The clock started last fall?
Correct. Yeah. It happened in August, so I think it happened. So from August now of last year for 3 years, in my opinion, she can do, say, buy anything she wants, and I'm not going to say a word.
God, your daughter will be a junior?
Yeah.
Rising senior in high school?
Senior in high school, I guess.
Maybe rising junior.
Yeah. Well, let's see. She's in the 8th grade. Yeah. A rising. I think it'll be summer between her junior and senior year.
Crazy.
When I finally let myself out of those invisible bonds and slip from them. Because right now.
And get your voice back.
That's right.
You're like.
That's right.
I don't know the story. The Little Mermaid, didn't she lose her voice?
They steal her. They steal her singing voice.
So she can live up?
I'm the Little Mermaid in this scenario. And. My wife is Ursula.